It's good to see you, Liz. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. What's the weather looking like for you?
I'm in Virginia Beach, and it's been temperamental. Earlier in the week, it was in the 80s, and then now it's back down to 40s. It finally got up to 60s today, and then back down to 50. So it's all over the place.
Is that the weather you prefer?
No, I prefer for it to just stay like a mild 70 all the
Yeah,
time.
I'm in Texas, so the weather can definitely change up. I'm sure you've been here, right? You fought in San Antonio. I'm from San
I
Antonio.
have, yeah.
Yeah, the humidity is pretty crazy out here. So
Definitely surprised about Texas.
I agree. Now, for you, so how does a champion like yourself usually start off her day? What's we're recording this on a Sunday. What's a normal day look like for Liz Carmouche?
Sunday is my chill day. It's the only day where I get to kind of relax. So it's usually wake up, drink 30 ounces of water first thing in the morning, kind of meal prep out for the day.
Yeah,
And then it's usually Sundays is Erin's day. It's the day for my dog where she gets her long walks, long sessions of playing fetch, go and train, especially in Virginia Beach, find out sometimes they have the really cool events where they build the sandcastles.
yeah.
And so trying to find things like that and see if they have any of those shows going on. Because I went one year and I could not believe the art that they made with sandcastles. So now it's been one of those things where if I can try and catch them. Last time I went to the beach, they had horses that people were just going on rides with on the beach. I
Oh
didn't
wow.
expect it. Every time I go there, there's something new. So I constantly like to go down and
Yeah.
see what crazy new event is going on there.
It's crazy that no matter, how long, we're living life, we're always finding new things, right?
Exactly.
For you, it's been we're in the year 2026. We haven't seen you fought, and I'm sure you're getting a lot of questions on when are we going to see you? Who's the next opponent? Are obviously there's a specific fight that people keep asking about, but I want to take some time to talk about just your career in general because you've had a fantastic career. You made your pro debut in 2020. How has life when you look back at 2020 and now 2026? How has life changed for you?
My pro debut was in 2010, so it's changed a lot since
Yeah.
then.
20, yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the start of my career, there's very few women in MMA gyms, and even less pros than that. For you to be able to get an amateur career really didn't exist. Um, there were some gyms that didn't even allow women to fight. At that time, for you to be a pro, they were 3-minute rounds, and you
Yeah.
weren't allowed to, as a female, elbow your opponent in the head. So drastically different than what you see today. And now you can go into the gym and there may still be a smaller number of women in the programs, but you have more pros in gyms. You have more women that are consistently in there driving towards a career. They're not in there just for fitness and do something different. With the appeal of like weightlifting and running can get pretty boring.
Yeah.
They're in there because they're actually pursuing a career in martial arts, whether that's they're doing MMA, they're doing jujitsu, boxing, kickboxing, doesn't matter. So that's a huge change. That's really cool to see because that's changed drastically since when I started.
When you talk about going into your career, obviously you served in the military. You served in the military. How did that prep you for the career in MMA?
It helped teach me how to keep discipline and how to overcome adversity. Even when I'm on the road and I have a crazy schedule, I still manage to make workouts happen in the gyms. I mean, my coaches and I were like during in COVID,
Yeah.
and we had nowhere to work out, but we're supposed to be cutting weight. We're supposed to be getting ready for a fight, lifting up and moving furniture in our rooms to be able to do mitts, to be able to do jujitsu, to be able to do all this stuff. And I think having all of us, one of my coaches is it was from the Navy, and so he also has that same mentality. And then my other coach has faced a lot of difficulty in his life that he's overcome. So for all of us, we seem to have that kind of military connection and understanding to work with what we have in front of us, even if that's nothing. And I think the military definitely helped prep me in my MMA career to be able to continue driving forward, even when it seems like there's no reason to do so.
Why did you choose the military?
So many reasons. One, I grew up in Okinawa, Japan. It's a
Yeah.
small military island. There are more bases on there than anything else of every different branch. And I got to work on the bases and see different sides of the military, both working with them professionally and then seeing how they held themselves in the gym atmosphere, how they held themselves in their personal lives as well. And I really felt like I got good insight into how each branch was representative on all sides of things. And the Marine Corps just struck me as being kind of uniform in how they held themselves to a higher standard. And I knew that I wanted to be an athlete, but that wasn't going to work out for me just because I didn't have the money to go to college.
Yeah.
And getting scouted by a possible recruiter for going to college as an athlete didn't exist there. So I knew that that future was kind of eliminated. And the military seemed to bridge that gap and be everything I wanted. I'd get a chance to travel, see the world, try new things, push myself to limits I'd never seen before. And the Marine Corps of all of them was the strongest representation of what I could feel by doing that.
As someone that was in the military for yourself and, pro fighter, you've traveled a lot. Is there a specific, I think it's hard, right, for you to tell you what's your favorite spot, but what have been the most memorable ones for you?
Yeah, it's especially hard because I feel like until a few years ago, most of my career fighting, I only saw the hotels and I only saw the airports because I had a full-time job and I had to take off to be able to go to fight. So that meant I had to be back to work Monday morning first thing. So if I fought Saturday night, by the time you get cleared by medical out of the venue, checked out of your hotel, you're on a plane back, right? So you don't get to see any of the places.
Yeah,
And when you're cutting weight all week and doing media and doing everything to help build up the fight, you're not going out and enjoying the town that
yeah.
you're in. So although I fought all over the country, there's been very few places I've been fortunate enough to see. And it was only a few years ago when I opted to, even if it meant a loss of my income, to stop and see the places that I was going to.
Yeah.
So I started that when I fought internationally and I went to the Czech Republic. And that was one of those bucket list places I always wanted to see. I'm like, man, there's no way I'm going to travel all the way out here and not see this place. Like I can't. There's no way I could afford to ever do this on my own. So I stayed a few days after, and I think that still is the one that stands out because it was a new experience for me, and it helped prioritize stopping and enjoying the experiences and put a whole different perspective on what I do for all my fights now.
What did you, what kind of job were you doing full time, if you don't mind me asking?
I was working and teaching at a gym. I ran there at the desk, so having all the members come in, and then I taught
Yeah.
classes full time too.
And that's a lot. You're working full time, you're living the life of a fighter. At the time, right? You talked about the difference between now and then as far as opportunities. How did you balance that? Did you think you were crazy at some point?
Looking back, yes. Everybody else that I talked to, yeah, because my whole philosophy then was like, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I don't need to worry about that now. Recovery, rest, like that's for the weak. You don't need that.
Yeah,
And of course, now I can attribute, like losses to improper recovery, injuries that could have been avoided that were really just due to just not having the right people around me to be able to tell me to do things right, prioritize it right. So definitely I've learned a lot of things and definitely looked at like, oh yeah, that was crazy. And I
yeah.
definitely shouldn't have done a lot of those things, but it also helped me appreciate what I have now.
You mentioned about wanting to be a pro athlete. Outside of being a fighter, was there what sports or what do you feel like was your calling outside of fighting?
Uh, I'd say soccer. Soccer is what I was
Okay.
focusing on at the time. I love tackle football, but I didn't really get to play it in terms of like an actual team. It was just like the
Yeah.
backyard. I'd be the one kid playing with all the adults because I wanted to actually play football. And I had played softball as well, and that's where I think that my family saw me kind of carrying it over because at that time, it had a lot of future prospects. But again, I preferred baseball, but I played
Yeah.
softball because for women there wasn't a lot of opportunities for baseball. But soccer is something I had a lot of accolades in. I was able to have a lot of achievements that I felt a passion for that I thought I can continue and carry it over to something different.
You've talked about in previous interviews, like when in your time in the military and how hard it was to transition out into a, normal job. You chose to be a MMA fighter. So how did that come about?
When I was in my third tour, there was an officer that I worked with. And at that time, he was Major Estrada,
Okay.
and his kids did jujitsu, and he was involved too. And he had recommended that I check out MMA and I get into it. And at that time, we had AFN when we were overseas, so we could watch Strikeforce for free. And I had seen fights, huge fan of Chris Cyborg. But I'm like, man, you're crazy. Like, I've seen some of these fights. These just look like brawlers. This is just people that have condoned street fighting. But then I tried a BJ Penn book, and I really liked the diet. I really liked the workouts I saw in there, and was like, okay, well, now I'm trying to do some of the technique and stuff, and I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm
Yeah.
definitely feeling this. maybe I'll give it a run and see if I can actually do this. But I also was totally aware that I had no combat sports background and that I was going to get into this without having that. I'm like, man, I'm going to start like 26 and get into this. I don't know what I'm doing. I'll be lucky if I get an amateur fight ever. And I knew that I just wanted to give it a go. I had roommates when I got out at that time who knew that I had a passion and love for wanting to do MMA, but it was just tight cuffed with where I wanted it to go because I didn't want to be that person sitting there like, yeah, I'm going to be your next champion. But I've never trained before, right? But they knew that it was something that I really loved and I wanted to pursue and how much time I took to try and learn this stuff.
Yeah.
So one day, there was a gym near our house and I had been talking about it. And they're like, you know what? You keep talking and saying you're going to do MMA, but you haven't gone and tried out the gym. I'm like, I don't have the money to do it. So we all shared one key for our house. So they locked me out. I had no way of getting back in. They're like, you can come back in once
Oh,
you go try
snap.
out the gym and go to the gym and please talk to them. And since then, I never looked back.
It's good to have a support system like that, right? I mean,
Yes.
sometimes we all need that tough love. We all do. You're reminding me of a quote that one of my coaches told me is if no one's laughing at your dream, that means you're not dreaming big enough, right? And you're telling yourself, I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna do it, right? So that's such a amazing thing to see. And looking now, you've become a world champion. You've done a lot of accomplishments. It's kind of surreal, right?
Oh, it's super surreal. I mean, if you had told me when I started in 2010 that like, hey, if you just hold out and you just continue on this, you're going to go pro, which I never thought would have happened. You're going to fight along Chris Cyborg. You may never fight her, but you're going to fight alongside of her and get to know her on a deeper level than just watching her on television. You're going to be a future world champion. Just keep up. I would told you you're out of your mind. There's no way I'm going to meet Chris Cyborg,
Yeah.
get to know her, fight alongside her, be a world champion. I said, you're out of your mind. That's never going to happen. I'll be lucky if I get an amateur fight. So it's definitely surreal to now be living what I dreamed of being possible, but never thought possible.
When you talk about, Chris Cyborg, I know you've mentioned, the interactions with her before. Was she one of the athletes that you were looking up to when you were watching this?
Yeah, I thought for sure I kept seeing her dominate and seeing like people that I was like, okay, that's a cool fighter, but I think I could beat them. And I saw Chris Cyborg come out. I'm like, I think I have what it takes to beat Chris Cyborg, not understanding like weight classes, right?
Yeah.
Really thinking like, yeah, I could be a 145 or she's not that big. Uh, and definitely thought, I'm like, yeah, I think I could beat Chris Cyborg. And my first Strikeforce fight, I was waiting in line to weigh in. And she came behind me and just like put her hand on her back. It's like, good look. You have a very good physique, very strong. And I just remember how her hand encompassed my entire back. And I knew the voice. I turned and I'm like, looked up at her. I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm a 145, but I think there are weight classes. And then getting to see some of the other ones, I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely not a 145. Or all these women I'm literally looking up to. Nobody am I looking eye to eye or below. So should be going to the proper weight class. And then even then, just taking the time, she had no reason to say anything. Good luck to me. Getting to then have an opportunity to see her backstage warming up with other fighters, to get
Yeah.
to know her at the UFC retreats and getting to joke with her and stuff. It was definitely cool to see that, you get to see athletes and you don't necessarily get to see the persona of who they really are outside of fighting. And she's such a kind person outside of it that I'm like, okay, that's a champion, somebody who can have that tenacity and that kill when they go in there, but also turn it off. And if a little kid asks for you to take the time to autograph something, you're going to take the time and take a picture and autograph with them. Or volunteering and helping animals and stuff. It was just cool that she offered both sides of that.
That's a very interesting point there. Looking up, you're like, and it is in this moment where we realize there is weight classes to MMA, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing to see. Now, talking about from, when you were locked out and you had to go figure things out in MMA, to walk me through when you started your career. I believe your debut was it in Mexico when you fought?
Yeah, it was in Mexico.
Okay. So, can you tell me about the time where, I mean, you took a punch, right? And you realized like, oh, snap, like I'm in here. I'm in a fight. What do you recall? What do you recall for that being like your first moment?
I mean, I feel like that moment happened more in training than anything else.
Okay.
I came from that like old school gym where every practice, you're not just lightly training, you're not tech sparring, it's a fight every single time. And if you catch somebody that's in a higher weight class and you catch them clean, they're going to beat the living crap out of you from that point on.
Okay.
right?
Ooh.
And even my coach at that time, like I got my nose busted up, my eye busted, my hair's ripped, my clothes are ripped, I'm messed up bad. And he was like, "There you go. There's your first sparring session." Meanwhile, it was also my first week of training,
Oh my
and
goodness.
yeah, and I was like, "All right, I'll see you tomorrow." And he's like, "Yeah, we'll see." And that was always the test for them. After your like first sparring session, people never come back. You know, they got really hit for the first time. They really got to get a test of what that meant. And most people, that's when they bail out or they decide, "I'm just going to do classes. I don't want to pursue the fight side of things." And I was back, same thing next Saturday morning, and I'm ready to train again. He's like, "All right, there might be something here." And just thinking too, like, hey, that was one of their pros, and he's their champion, and he punched me with his hardest punch, and I'm still here.
Yeah.
Like if I can take hits from him, and then I'll get one with the heavyweight. If I can take a heavyweight down, I can take a woman down my size. Like I can definitely do this. So when I got into the fight, and the girl's like hitting me with everything she has as hard as she can, the thing that was most exhausting for me is like I is wanting to do things correctly and being so frustrated. Like I
Yeah.
think I ended that fight because I went to push kick her in the face, but I was just so tense that I accidentally push kicked her in the body right into her liver. In no way was it intentional. Like to everybody else, it looked like it was like this technical
Yeah.
intentional. It was not. I
For
was
such
so tense,
precision.
not even slightly. I was just so tense that I aimed for her face, actually went to her body. And I was like, all right, well, all of that, that was way easier, minus like the making the mistakes, which in practice you can find much more acceptable. I'm like, that was, didn't even hit a fraction as hard. And she was significantly bigger than me because the weight class just didn't work out and I just wanted to fight. So I didn't care.
Yeah.
But just remember, like, okay, well, that was way easier than any of the practices that I just went through a few weeks ago. Like, I can do this. This isn't so bad. But every fight, it was kind of like that. Like, well, this one could be different. This may not be as easy as what I've been going through in practice. So every time it was just kind of like, well, let's see if this one's different or if this one is as bad or worse.
When when you're around gyms like that, right? And I'm sure you see a bunch of people come in. I mean, do you ever see the person that says, "I'm here, I want to be an MMA fighter," and then you just I mean, I'm sure maybe you get that a lot, but do you know who's really about it from your
Well,
eyes?
some people definitely surprise you, but especially because I worked the front desk.
Okay.
So I'm the one that's like, hey, are you interested in getting signed up at the gym and like talking them through prices and their goals and trying to figure them out.
Of course.
And I can remember like some people coming in, they're like, yeah, I'm going to be your next lightweight and heavyweight world champion in the UFC.
All
I was
right.
like, you haven't even trained yet. And I hate to tell you this, but you're just out of shape. You can't be a heavyweight or light heavyweight. You're like 5'7". You're just obese.
Let's
You
work
gotta
on
get
some push-ups, right, bro? Let's work on to give me 10 good push-ups, right?
and especially working there, I found that more often the people that came in saying like, I'm going to be your next champion or I'm going to be in this UFC, 99% of the time, those people quit within the first month,
Oh yeah. Okay.
right? And then, or they didn't quit, but they were in it for fame and for all the wrong reasons, had no work ethic and didn't do well. The people that were like quietly in the background, just working their butts off and they're like asking questions like, well, how did you do this? Can you help me with this? And the ones that were like seeking to put in more work, they were asking for the hints on how certain fighters and certain athletes achieved what they did and what they did, and asking questions on how to make those connections. Those are usually the athletes that did really well because they're
Yeah.
not seeming to be in it for fame. They're in there putting in the extra work. If you say like, oh, well, when you guys don't see me, I'm in another gym putting in another 4 hours. And they're like, okay, well, what do I have to do that? Right? Those are the athletes that you know, like, okay, that person has it.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, like they get in a relationship and that changes everything for them, or they get a new job. And oftentimes you'll see that's the hard part is like you see those athletes who, wow, their skill is there, their work ethic, they they're cordial to everybody around you. They elevate the people around them. This is a great addition to our team. But then they get a job that takes them elsewhere, or a family member gets sick, and it's so
Yeah.
hard to see their entire path get derailed, knowing the potential that they could fulfill if they were able to go on. Like, man, they could be bigger than anybody I know, but life gets in the way.
Yeah, you reminded me of a good quote that Kendall Rusing told me. You know, she's a jiu-jitsu practitioner. She told me that when you look at a dream, right, or a goal that you want to do, you have to truly ask yourself, like, why are you doing this? Because if you tell yourself money and fame, when things get hard, that's not enough to keep you going, man.
Yeah.
So you have to truly like find the reasons on like why you're doing something. So it's a good perspective that you gave me there from watching them. But speaking of people coming in and telling you I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna be a champion. Let's talk about 2022. You know, you defeated Juliana Velasquez. right? And people call it controversial. They call the finish controversial. And in the moment in time, you've got your hand raised, you win the championship. Do you can you tell us how you felt? Because I don't know. I mean, people are talking, right? The media. Can you walk me through kind of like what the roller coaster of emotions was for you that day?
Yeah, I mean, I remember, like being in topside crucifix elbowing, and just as
Yeah.
her body stops moving, she's looking up to the sky. Just to me, when you stop looking at your opponent and looking at the strikes, you're looking elsewhere. You're looking for the ref to step in, which is that initial indicator. But then when you're
Yeah.
not fighting, you're not moving, and
Yeah.
elbows are still raining down, you've given up, you've quit. And you can say whatever you want. And I know one say was controversial, but in no way was it in my mind.
Yeah.
And even just watching, I'm like, oh, she's quit. She's not even trying. She's not fighting up the cage. She's not bucking me off, or she's
Yeah.
just laying there taking the abuse. And I'm like, this is it. I know this is it. Just a few more elbows. I'll go harder. I'll go faster. I'll just keep reining them in. But knowing that the end was right there, just based on her body not doing anything, and realizing that something I'd worked so hard for, it was right there. And all I
Yeah.
had to do was just keep doing what I do, and just not finish, and just until it was finally done. And then getting the ref to step in to save her, having that hand raised is like, I finally did it. My family's here. I'm
Yeah.
able to, all the work, all the sacrifice we all do together, I have something to give them. Every person at the gym, every teammate that's helped me, all the coaches, I have something to bring home to them, to show them, like, thank you for all the work. You guys did this. And then, get out of the cage. I'm smiling. I'm like, oh yeah, I get to take this belt to the press cross interview. That's so cool. Like, I've never done that. I get to finally take it with me. And first of all, you get out there and, like, all right, Liz, we need to take that belt for you. I'm like, wait, what? Like, yeah, this is just for the cage. Like, you'll get yours later, but we're gonna take this from you. I'm like, well, that's really mean. Don't worry, there will be
Okay.
one just to show you at the press conference. So I'm like, all right, well, let's take it to the press conference. And as I go, and it's like, by the way, I know we took your belt. Just want to give you a heads up what you're walking into. There's a lot of controversy about that finish, and it looks like she's going to try and fight it.
Okay.
Like, I barely got down the steps. You guys, one, tell me my belt isn't my belt. Take it from me. You'll give back to me later. That's enough. That hurts. And then now you're going to add in this too. I'm like, oh man, wow. I was just on cloud nine, and now I'm in
Yeah.
this weird wallow where everybody's congratulating me. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, guys. Like, that when I gave back the belt, I may never actually see that belt again. But they're saying I'll
Yeah.
get it later. That might have just been a joke, and it's not going to happen. And then to get to the press conference and think that there was any favoritism from ref Mike Beltran. Zero. Like, to me, he's a ref that I looked up to because he does things at the best interest of the fighter. He's able to identify before the fighter takes irreparable damage, right? Which is exactly what I saw in that moment. He stepped in before her brain was sloshed, and I'm breaking her face. Like, do we need to get to that point? If she's not defending herself intelligently,
Yeah.
which we as professionals have to do, why does it have to go to severe damage that maybe she's not walking back away from? So I felt like he stepped in at the exact right moment. And then put into question a good ref. I'm like, wow, he's one of the ones that I'm like, yeah, if I have a ref, that's the one I want, because he'll keep me safe and he'll
Of
keep my
course.
opponent safe. Right? There are other ones where I'm like, oh, that's not the ref I want. The guy smells like alcohol and cigarettes when he shows up. So I worry that he's going to be drunk and not paying attention,
That's
or people
happened.
who that's happened, or
Okay.
people where you can
Wow.
just see during the fight, they just seem to be off in la la land. Like, they see maybe an actor or an actress in the crowd, and they're watching. It's like, hey, they just took 50 unanswered strikes. What are you doing? Right. So there are those refs where when I see them, they're like, hey, you're
Okay.
ref. I'm like, oh man, I'm in danger. I've got to finish this fight as quick as possible, because I'm at danger if I get into a compromising situation. Right. And he's not one of those. And there's a few refs out there. I'd say like five good solid refs where I know if they come in there, I'm not
Yeah.
worried about myself or my opponent, that they're always going to step in at the right time and keep us safe, not make an early call, not make a bad call one way or the other. So when I heard that, I'm like, well, that's ridiculous, because there's no favoritism. I don't know this guy outside of, it's a ref that I trust from watching fights all the
Of
time.
course.
And then go out there and, like, oh, she's going to try and sue Bellator, and she's going to fight to overturn this. I'm like, that's ridiculous. I'm like, wow, finally get there. I feel like I've done everything right, and I'm about to get the rug pulled out from underneath me. And so even just trying to, like, enjoy that and go out the post fight dinner, I'm like, yeah, guys, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to dinner with a belt for one. It's supposedly going to be mailed to me later. I'm like, that's difficult enough as it is. I'm
Yeah.
like, and now I've got to say that, hey guys, we may get back there, and there isn't going to be a belt to bring home. Everything we did, it just went back to her. And so it was just like waiting, like, okay, well, waiting for the news. When is this other shoe going to drop? where they tell me that you're no longer the champion and that you lost out on that. So it was definitely hard to enjoy that win, feeling like this dark cloud was looming over me the whole entire time.
Was it heartbreaking?
Yeah, absolutely. Like having to tell my son as he's crying and he's elated for me and happy that
Yeah.
mommy's going to come home and we did this and you were right, you're able to do all this, only to tell him like, hey, sometimes life isn't fair. And even if you do everything right, like how am I going to explain to my son that this is potentially all wrong? And then for my wife, who's like, yeah, we sacrificed for a 9 month fight camp because Velasquez kept postponing the fight over and over and
Yeah.
over, where I went from a 3 month fight camp to 9 months, the entire time away from my family. I'm like, how am I going to explain to him that all that 9 months is for nothing? So it was definitely like, wow, this really sucks. There's nothing I can do about it, but just prepare and just go on there and fight again. But man, finally get that opportunity, finally grasp it, only to potentially just have it fall right through my fingers.
I can't imagine what to do in that situation, especially with the amount of time, effort, sacrifices that you've made there. Sounds like a tough one. Obviously, you ended up fighting her two more times, right? And the outcome did go your way. Spoiler alert for anyone that didn't follow your career there. But you managed. I want to fast forward. You managed to become a PFL champion. No controversy, right? Toward and when I say controversy, I mean people, media calling it that there. How much sweeter was that for you?
It was really good. Again, there's still that part of me that was like, man, after the last time getting a belt, I now kind of have that like, is there any controversies in the come of this? Like, I need to go back and watch the tape to make sure that we're not in any doubt here, or there's not going to be hands upheaved about this possible. So there was still kind of like that cloud there, like, hey, instead of it being a black cloud, it's still a gray cloud that's like right there, like don't get too excited because it easily gets stripped away. But at the same time, I had the same support system, the same coaches who went through with me before, who were like, doesn't matter, things work out, and you'll just fight again and just get a rematch with her if that's the case, and show them again. I'm like, yeah, if it happens, it happens. At least the season's over. I know what I achieved. We know the work we put in. Doesn't matter at this point.
Obviously, you became a PFL champion. You made some coin there, right? You made some money there. You made some money. And fast forwarding into, 20, well, that was 2025. You fought three times. You won three times. 2026, we haven't seen you yet. And obviously, I know, right? 2026. I do want to ask because I've been paying attention to what John Martin and people in the PFL have said. I just, and call me crazy, I haven't seen your name be brought up versus Dakota. I've heard Dakota versus somebody else, Dakota versus a different name. Do you find that weird?
Yeah, absolutely. And both in the 2024 season, the 2025 season, I said the same thing. Like a Dakota match, it makes sense. Let's see it
Yeah.
happen. And to me, her being the 2024 champion, being able to then fight in outside of the tournament in that same year, which was weird even of itself to me, not participating in the tournament. And then not being able to fight when she was supposed to because of an injury. It's like, okay, well, cool. So she won 2024, I won 2025, and you guys are saying that we don't have a champion in this weight
Yeah.
class, which is weird enough as it is. It only makes sense for us to have this fight to be able to make the actual champion and crown the champion for this weight division. And I've been telling them since end of last year after the tournament was done, like, hey guys, I'm ready. Let's do this.
Yeah.
We're now into 2026 and just hoping to get that phone call soon. And honestly, if it's not Dakota, and I understand from their perspective, right? They
Yeah.
want somebody who's young, they want somebody who's pretty, who's willing to do everything, and that they can build a future with, as opposed to somebody who's been doing it for 16 years. They don't want to invest all their energy and everything into it. I get that part of it. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, but let's not also forget that I did win the tournament and I did everything you guys asked in the 2024 tournament. And anytime you guys, anything you ask me to do, I'm always there. I'm always representing as best as possible. I do as professionally as possible. And if it's not going to be Dakota, give me an opponent. Let's do this. Let's get those fights going. I'm not getting any younger and I want to fight. So I want to fight. I'm asking them for fights. It's just a matter of actually getting it scheduled.
Do you believe that we'll see that fight? Not sure. Fair enough.
I think to me, again, like I said, her not participating in the tournament, but then being allowed to fight on her own when we were told that wasn't existing, you had to participate in the tournament. That to me
Yeah.
was weird.
Yeah.
And then announcing that she has a fight is like, well, hey, I said I'm ready to fight her, and we want to say that we're crowning her as first, me as second. I don't know how that happens when you
Yeah.
fought in 2024, you got injured, and you haven't fought again. Doesn't make sense how she goes number one, but all right, so then it makes sense for us to fight. But I honestly can't say that I know that's going to happen. I mean, I see more and more, like we just had what last night, former UFC fighters that are fighting
Yeah.
for PFL now.
Yeah.
And I've seen some other names that popped up on future cards that are also former UFC fighters. So if they're
Yeah.
just looking to get some well-known fighters that have proven their worth and what they do, then give me somebody. I'm ready to fight somebody. I don't care who it is. And if it's not Dakota, that's fine. Just keep me busy. That's all I care about at this point.
Well, Liz, I know I got to get you out of here. I really appreciate your time. I always end the show with this question, and we can point back to a specific moment in your life now. Is I always ask if this version of yourself could talk to, let's go back to the person that got locked out of that house to pursue their MMA career, what would this version tell that version of you?
To walk to the gym,
Okay.
to absolutely commit to doing it, that it's all going to be worth it. And everything, I think in that moment, if I hadn't gone to the gym, I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't have my son. We wouldn't have our family. I wouldn't have had the future that I have today, even if there were hiccups along the way and difficulties. All of it happened for a reason. So the biggest thing is, and I wouldn't want to mess with that and be like, well, you don't do this because this could happen, because I don't know that then one path wouldn't lead to the
Yeah.
other. So I would definitely have to just say, like, just make it all the way there. You may not have the gas money, you may not have the means, you have legs, go to the gym, ask the questions you're already going to ask, and just stick to the schedule. It'll all pay off.
Couldn't have said any better. Thank you so much. Is there anything you want to let the audience know before we sign off?
Hey, just keep pushing. One thing I really want to do is I've said I want to open up a bantamweight division in PFL. I think we're missing out on a lot of women that could be fighting that have moved up to 145 that can't make it to 125 that are phenomenal fighters. And the UFC kind of has the only hand right now in the bantamweight division. So I think PFL needs to take that chance, open it up, get this going. I'd love to take a fight and see if I can't also hold a title in the 135 division.
It's amazing. I hope we can see that soon in the PFL. Liz Carmouche, thank you again.
Thank you.